Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Lead Your Customers' Transition to the Digital Office. My name is Amy Mahalski, VP at AIM, and AIM is your host and producer of today's event. With me today are Sylvia Horvath from ELO Digital Office, Dave Westlake of Atlas, and Charlie Andrews from Ovitas. ELO Digital Office USA is the underwriter of today's webinar. We thank them for their support and thank you for taking the time to join us today. Before we get started, let me share with you a few pointers for viewing today's webinar. By joining our webinars live, you can customize your own viewing experience. Feel free to open, close, or resize the different windows. Across the bottom of your screen is the list of all the widgets available to you. Group chat is available to you. Open this by clicking on the icon that's along the bottom. With group chat, you'll be able to text chat with each other and also with a few of us from AIM. And please do ask questions to the speakers throughout the hour using the Q&A feature. We will hold the questions until the end, where we should have about 5 to 10 minutes to answer them. You can also use this feature to ask for technical assistance. You can download a PDF of the presentation at any time. Just look at the resources list. There are also a few other documents and links in there to help you learn more about today's topics. Just click in here at any time. The resources will open in a new browser tab, and you can save and read them after the webinar. At the end of the webinar is a brief survey that will open automatically on your browser, and it's also in the widgets below the slide area. We'd really appreciate if you take a few minutes to just offer feedback and to suggest other topics for us to cover. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted to the AIM.org Resources Webinars page in just a few days. Now I'd like to introduce you to our speakers. First is Sylvia Horvath. She's CEO of ELO Digital Office Corporation USA. With a career focused on document management solutions, she has developed highly successful channel programs worldwide for ELO Digital Office. Sylvia holds an MBA in finance from Budapest University and resides just outside of Boston with her 2 teenage sons. Dave Westlake is the president and CEO of Atlas, an asset management software company specializing in business intelligence and digital transformation. He graduated from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He's an Army veteran and earned his MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. Lastly, Charlie Andrews is Director of Sales and Business Development of Ovitas, where he brings several decades of experience working with global organizations in the structured and unstructured content lifecycle management arena. Charlie works with organizations in the healthcare, manufacturing, standards and compliance, and global accounting finance markets. And now, let me turn things over to Sylvia. Sylvia?
Thank you very much, Amy, for this kind introduction. So
sure.
Let's start our webinar. Thank you. If I may, I would like to give you just a little background on ELO, as I'm guessing it's not a familiar name to everyone. But in fact, we have been in the document management business since 1996. We have a worldwide presence with more than 850 partners in 17 countries, and I'm delighted to have 2 of our US partners on today's webinar. Now, not to be confused with the Electric Light Orchestra, I want to tell you what ELO stands for. In 1896, a German inventor, Louis Leitz, invented the line finder to help to organize his ever-increasing and disorganized paperwork. This binder, which is undoubtedly familiar to many of you, can still be found today in some office settings. Fast forward to 1996, the founders of ELO took technology and applied it to document management. They named the company and its product the Electronic Light Organizer, so ELO. ELO is deeply rooted in document and information management, and I hope that this explanation will help you not to confuse our company name with the Electric Light Orchestra in the future. So how to lead a digital office transition. In thinking about how to lead a digital office transition for your customers, I would like to share 4 simple concepts that should be considered in all your customer journeys. First of all, demystify the term digital office. The term digital may seem a little techy and has become overused at times, so you want to make this a down-to-earth practical business term and decision. Also, provide your customer with the data that validates the value of the digital office, and figure out where your customer is on their digital journey. When you have addressed demystifying the digital office, providing proof points, and understanding how your customer uses digital technology today, you can then proceed with delivering a customer-centric solution for the digital office transition. Let's drill down a bit deeper on demystifying the digital office. The fact is that everyone has a digital life that involves some dimensions of social media, such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or any other platforms out there. Everyone consumes information via mobile technology in some form or another. Analytics are integral to every aspect of our lives, whether we are reviewing a yearly credit card statement, stock portfolio, or a phone bill. And increasingly, all of these digital experiences are made possible by cloud-based computing. I believe that if you talk to your customers about their digital lives, they can more easily embrace the concept of the digital office and get ready to make it a reality. Giving your customers proof points is another way to validate the value of the digital workplace. This requires you to educate, as appropriate, your customer on how the digital office is created and sustained for growth. There is an abundance of information available to you on the value of the digital office, where business processes are streamlined, productivity improves, communications are enhanced, and time to market is accelerated. When it comes to figuring out where a customer is on their digital journey, here are some key data points. Examine their social, mobile, analytics, and cloud use of and capabilities. Perform a document audit. Understand the business processes and related documentation. For example, how do they handle email? Do they have a standard archiving procedure? What happens to email attachments? What is the communication process with employees and people outside the organization? To what extent is texting used? How are business communications tracked and retained? What privacy policies are in place? Lastly, gather some metrics on their customer response times, invoicing, end-of-month reconciliations. So you want to uncover pain points and show them how the digital office can address those pain points. Look for ways to validate the value of the digital workplace. Lastly, as a solution provider, you can differentiate your documents and information management offerings by delivering a customer-centric solution. My advice is never take the one-size-fits-all approach by force-fitting a solution, but you can lead a successful digital transition by taking your customer social, mobile, analytics, and cloud use to help generate digital business goals, by ensuring the solution really does address their pain points and budget, or by creating the strategy and tactics to help customers achieve their digital goals, and for sure by delivering solutions that remove the friction points from their business processes. And now Dave and Charlie will discuss how they have led successful digital office transitions for their customers. I'm delighted to pass this presentation to ELO partner Dave, President and CEO of Atlas.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Sylvia. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Just as a quick reference to the things that Amy and Sylvia have already mentioned, and to give you a little bit of a background about who I am and why I'm on this call, I run a company called Atlas, and Atlas is a company that takes massive amounts of data from disparate sources, traditionally platforms that are used to manage physical assets, combines them onto one solution, and then delivers immediately actionable information. Our company traditionally is used in the space of managing IT assets across an enterprise, so laptops, desktops, printers, those types of things, and then generating business intelligence out of them. But then also we are working heavily in the operational technology space as well. So we help the clients that we work with take their physical assets and figure out what's going on with them. And while they look at their assets in that perspective, in that light, they look at what they can reach out and touch and feel. We look at actually the data that those things produce, because from our perspective, from our point of view, the real asset that's important in our organization is data. So then you're asking yourself probably, why are you involved in digital transformation? Well, it's pretty simple. There's a statistic I heard not too long ago that something along the lines of 90% of all the world's data was generated in the last 2 years, right? So if you think about all the data that's swimming around in our daily lives, Sylvia alluded to it just a few minutes ago, we all have digital lives, and we all produce a significant amount of data each day. And that every 2 days, we generate as much data as all of humanity did up to 2003. So what that does is that means there's a lot of data, a lot of potential information coming from people, processes, and technology all across the spectrum of everything that we do across all of our lives. So you apply that to what we do from an asset management perspective or a data-driven asset management perspective, and digital transformation, it fits well within our wheelhouse. So I want to give you an example of exactly that, a case in point. And I'm going to tell you a brief story about a real person from a real company in a real state and a real department within that state, but I'm going to make all the names up because, frankly, this is something that if the person who this happened to knew that I was talking about them, they'd probably be embarrassed. So this is going to be an imaginary state, and the organization within that state is the Department of Good Decisions, the DGD, which, as I think about it more, the way government is expanding and the new things that show up every day in a state government or federal government, we might very well have a Department of Good Decisions before too long. But anyway, in this story, it all started with a warning that a friend of mine got that works for this small business. It started with one page, and the warning was a notice of compliance or non-compliance within a particular department, and they were giving them a heads up that he needed to take some action on a particular situation and a particular filing within the state. And I guess, if you're a parent, you can probably relate to this most appropriately. It's kind of like when you start off raising your kids and they're babies, right? They're cute and they're innocent and they're fun, but then they become teenagers, and over the course of a few years or a few iterations of going through certain things become a big mess. Same thing happened here. Started off very innocently with a simple heads up. So my friend gets this letter in the mail, and if you can see what's on this letter, you'll notice that everything is fake with the exception of our actual mailing address that's on this letter. But everything else is fictitious, just to kind of make a point. So my friend gets this letter saying, hey, you are out of compliance with a particular regulation for this state. This is your first warning. Then a few weeks later, the second warning comes, and it's a little bit less formal, a little bit less nice, a little bit less warm, and it's more along the lines of, hey, dude, didn't you get our first message? Right? Well, and you know what's coming next. Okay, so this is no longer cool. We're going to send you another notice a few weeks after the second one. You need to respond quickly or something's going to happen. A few weeks after that, they're starting to get angry. All right? Shortly thereafter, all right, no more Mr. Nice Guy. And it's about this time that my friend actually gets these notices. Right? And I'll go into the reason why in just a little bit. These notices start to pile up in his inbox, in his mailbox, and he doesn't even realize it yet. And then finally, the sixth notice comes, and the state says, all right, now we're going to fine you. So what does that do? And how does that play in this overall situation? Well, if you look at what happened, right, these notices started to pile up in his mailbox because, oddly enough, there's a delay in the mail. So is that a conspiracy with the mail system? Maybe, I don't know. But the other thing that kind of came in to make this a perfect storm was my buddy was on a business trip, and he was gone for 4 weeks at a time. And so even if he was home and even if those letters had been delivered on time, he wouldn't have been able to get them anyway. So he called up the state and said, listen, I was gone, and I found out that these things had been delayed in the mail. There's got to be some reprieve available for me, which is where we come into this third learning point. The state agencies have zero sense of humor. And then finally, after a fine was waged, and granted, it wasn't huge, $1,000 is still $1,000, it caused an epiphany to happen, not only in my friend, but also when he came to me to tell me about all these things. I realized there's an opportunity. All right, so if we're looking at one notice that goes out to one taxpayer that generated over 50 pages of items being printed and mailed at a total cost of significantly greater than $1,000, and the state's only recouping $1,000 in fine, there's a mismatch, there's an unbalance there. In the private sector, we'd call that a problem. In the public sector accounting, maybe it's not so much of a big deal, but nonetheless, it's an issue that needs to be addressed. But I think the bigger point, though, is if you extrapolate that over what actually happens across the entire state this happened in, right? It's not one document or one warning. It's 70 million pages at a total cost of significantly greater than $100 million. So looking at ways to mitigate this and make it easier to process all the information that needs to be sent out and all the information that needs to be shared with end users, we came up with a solution, and we worked closely with ELO to deploy this. And we're excited to talk about it without going into too much detail, but essentially it takes the 6 notices that my friend received in the mail and makes them obsolete. The first notice actually is deployed directly from the state to an end user's mobile device. So they can see the notice immediately. They get the availability of the data. They get to process the notice. They get to see what's going on. They get to see the problem and resolve the issue before a second notice is ever generated. And they can take action on the issue and resolve any problems that may come up as a course of non-compliance wherever they are in the world. So my friend, as I mentioned before, was on a business trip. He was traveling. There's no way he could have gotten a physical letter anyway. He could have taken care of the issue while he was on the road. It streamlines the entire process, takes the cost of printing and mailing out of the workflow that the state has witnessed for years and years and years, and makes it all digital, makes it all streamlined, and makes it much more efficient. So what does that teach us? Right, that no process is immune. Government agencies have a tendency to do things the same way over and over and over again, simply because that's the way it's always been done. Well, we showed them by digitizing their traditional print and mail workflow how they can save approximately 60% off of their traditional costs of printing and mailing. We also realized that every organization can benefit. It's not just the large organizations, but if you take the same concepts and same lessons learned from this story and from what we did with this particular state, you can apply them at any level. And that enterprise content management and document management services ultimately are asset management. So it doesn't take a company that specializes just in moving paper or reducing the amount of paper being produced to do this. Anybody that has any focus on managing assets or managing data is fair game for this. And then obviously, if you look at the size of what we just talked about with this one state, it's a small state. There are at least 5 cities in the United States with populations greater than this entire state. So the opportunity is tremendous. And of course, we haven't even started talking about federal government opportunities. So this concept can be applied across a broad spectrum of different organizations, both public and private sector, and the opportunity is there for the taking, and it's huge. That's a quick synopsis of one way that we've worked with ELO and how they've helped us apply certain concepts in digitizing processes for a very large client. I'm going to turn it over now to Charlie Andrews from Ovitas.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining today. I am Charlie Andrews with Ovitas, and I want to spend just a quick minute introducing Ovitas. We are a company that, since our inception in 2004, has been devoted to content lifecycle and management solutions, from the beginning of creating content all the way through the management and approval and publishing of that content in one form or another, to the time when you finally retire that content or archive it off. So that's our entire focus. As Amy mentioned earlier, we're in healthcare, we're in equipment manufacturing, standards compliance, global accounting, and we are also a U.S. ELO certified partner, and we've been so since 2016 in the United States. And our European division has been a partner with ELO since about 2007. That's a brief overview of Ovitas. For today's webinar, Sylvia asked if I would present a real customer overview and a use case, and I'd like to do that today. Thank you very much for letting me do this. First of all, let's go over our customer profile. This is a real customer. It's up and running. The customer is based in New York, and it's a leading provider of software, enterprise risk management solutions, financial analysis, software tools. They develop and market this software, and they have a whole portfolio of solutions for investment strategies. They also provide implementation, so they're kind of a vendor, custom training, all the different activities, and including research services around their particular market in the United States and also internationally. There are actually two main problems that they were trying to solve in driving forces behind their search for a CMS. First one was, and some of you may resonate with this, they had something in-house that they were using that was not meant for the particular job, but because it was there, they were doing their job, but they were putting it into the wrong platform, and this caused them a problem. These people are essentially technical writers. They're supporting the software products, and because of that, they need something that they can really collaborate on, but they were using a legacy software code-based system. Anybody familiar with that knows that it is a content management system, but it's not one that really is bent on collaborating for people who are doing creative writing in support of products. So that was the first problem. The second problem, and one of equal importance or maybe even more importance, was they were looking, because of this legacy system, they had to copy and paste all the time from different places. As you can see from my slide, they had a hard time finding stuff. They really needed a central content management solution to be in place to be able to collaborate, and they wanted to be able to access it from multiple points, from the PC, from the web, from mobile, from local, remote. Their writers are, at least in the U.S., all over the U.S., not centrally located. The other main point that they were looking to solve is they really wanted what's known as a single source of truth, and that means that they wanted to write one piece of content that they could approve and send through a process that would then be able to be used in multiple types of outputs, multiple types of publications, or with multiple products. They wanted to be able to do this so that when they updated that single source of truth, that one piece of content, it could then ripple through and update in all the different places it might have been used. With the current system that they had in-house, which is really oriented towards managing software code, the content was in different places. There was copying and pasting, and as soon as you start copying what you want to have as original source of truth, you may start to introduce errors, you introduce different variants of it, and that was something that they really didn't want it to do. So they wanted a central place where they could all collaborate and get to their software. So Ovitas is a company that's very aligned with the issues they have. We are an integrator, but we're also a software vendor. Totaling that together, you have a solutions provider. So we were very easily understanding their requirements, and we worked with them very deeply. and put together a knowledge package that they could use. And essentially how we did this was to build for them a proof of concept solution which demonstrated exactly what their needs were. And that included integrating some specific tools that they happen to like to use in the editorial process to create the technical information about all of the software products and things that they were using. Okay. We set up an environment where they could create content reuse, where they could, what's called in ELOprofessional or ELO Enterprise, the two larger platforms from ELO, they could reference content, which means I can store it in one place in the system, in the repository, but then I can reference it in a number of different places and package it with other content without having to copy it or paste it, but simply drag, sort of even drag and drop it from one folder to another to create a reference. It's very, very simple and straightforward to do. So we created a hosted sandbox for them. Because of web access, it became very easy for us to set up an internal instance, to put them in a live thing, give them brief training. And essentially what happened was they looked at it, they were able to do their own evaluation of the platform. They could see, first of all, how intuitive the system was, and actually they could define for themselves how it would benefit their organization. Okay, so what were the results? Well, after they spent time actually using the system in a manner of which they would do in a real production environment, they decided this actually was a much greater benefit than the legacy system that they had. So they decided that ELOprofessional, because of the size of their organization, was the appropriate platform, and we worked with them to implement this for their technical writing staff. Right? They migrated all their content from that software code system into this new collaborative environment, and they started from the scratch then creating all new content in the ELO platform. Okay? This very quickly became a very successful departmental rollout for this system. So all technical writers would be up and running on this platform, but it also set the stage for expanded use around their enterprise. And remember that this is a company that is international in scope. So has this project helped them? Well, here is their feedback on the ELOprofessional platform that was implemented. First of all, with its very Microsoft-like interface, it's very easy to use. It's intuitive out-of-the-box experience. This is their feedback. They like the fact that it has very friendly tool integration, and you can associate any kind of application for any specific file types that you want to keep in this solution. It really will house any kind of file type, from text to audio to video to anything that you really want, and you can associate very quickly specific tools that you want to use. In this case, they wanted to use XML-based tools. The users were then, once the content was in, they were very easily able to find the content. Not only were they able to navigate it in a very intuitive Windows-like folder structure, but they could use keywords, metadata, and full-text search. And that really helped them because they could build searches and dynamic folders for themselves that had content in it that they were really interested in, and then they didn't have to worry about where everything was. They could just get to it right away. That was a big help to them. And the ELO use is now starting to expand to other disciplines within their company. They've had people come to them looking over their shoulder the whole time, and now they're coming to them saying, hey, we really ought to go get a content management system. And the technical writing group is able to say, well, wait a second, we have one in place now. Why don't you take a look at this? And the net result, as an ELO certified partner, we love this because they've seen the value of this in their organization, and an initial investment in their platform is now starting to grow, and their business with us as a partner and for ELO is starting to grow as well. So this is a very brief overview of a live customer in the New York area. I want to thank you very much for your time, and I want to turn it right back over to Sylvia.
Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Before we take thank you. Before we take questions, I hope that together with my partners, we have been able to give you an idea about the value that ELO solutions can bring to your customers and for sure to you as well. ELO USA is growing and looking to expand its partner network throughout North America. And not only the partner network, we are also looking to grow customers base across North America. And it is very important that ELO provides you trainings, consulting support under its partner program. We have good margins, I think, and ELO is very competitively priced. So all my contact information is on the slide. Let's talk about partnering. And now I'm gonna turn to Amy for the questions.
Thanks, Sylvia, and thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great questions here, so let's get started. First, I have quite a few questions, people asking about the partner program and learning how to become a partner. So I just wanted to remind everybody, take a look at the resources link on the right side of your screen. There's some information there that you can download and take a look at that. So just remember to do that. Let me start with Dave. I have a question just about here from someone that's asking how you came across ELO and why you chose them as a partner. And then perhaps maybe Charlie could answer that too.
Sure. Well, from my perspective, we got in a jam, and ELO was there to help us. We needed a solution that was going to be able to take a significant amount of data in the form of documents that need to be distributed across an enterprise as a component of our asset management solution for an organization. And we looked at a bunch of different providers that were out there all across the world. And it just so happens that as we started to vet each one of them, they would have, like 50% of the solution or 75% of the solution, or they'd have a really good tool, but their service was not what we needed to be, either for ourselves internally or for our client. And then I came across ELO, and I started working with Sylvia and her team, and immediately everything was lining up perfectly. All the capabilities that we needed were spot on. The ability to flex into new areas and make adjustments and configure things to meet our requirements and our clients' requirements were perfect. And then probably more importantly, their ability to stand behind what they did and service everything that we need and stand by us when we had something come up was unheard of in the marketplace. So we came across them out of a need. We found them because of very specific criteria we needed answered, and we're staying with them because they're an awesome partner to work with.
Nice. Awesome.
Great.
Do you have anything to add, Charles? Yeah.
Well, yeah, we came at it from a slightly different angle. We are a company that is global. We are both in the United States, at least and in Europe. We have a division in Budapest and Hungary. And as I said earlier, they've been an ELO partner since 2007. So the U.S., we got to cheat a little bit when ELO Digital Office decided to open up the U.S. market. We were delighted. We immediately contacted Sylvia when she came in, and we wanted to be a partner. And it's based on experience that our Hungarian office also has had, which has been very, very positive over the years. And I think what's significant here is that running right out of the gate, we were able to both work with ELO to get up to speed very quickly. And again, it's a very intuitive platform, but to get up to speed very quickly. And we had the auspices of our Hungarian office to also help us out. We took it one step further. we decided, being a SharePoint type of a company here, we were going to get off of SharePoint and we were going to institute ELOprofessional for our own organization here, like our Hungarian office had done. So we have made that transition. So we not only are representing ELO as a certified partner, which has been a wonderful experience, but we have that as an integral part of our own infrastructure, and we've gone digital to the point where we shred old files now while we manage all of our former paperwork in a digital way. Our CEO, his comment on this has been, I asked him the other day, I'm going on to this webinar, why do you like ELO? And the first thing he looked at me is he said, because I can find a document that I need. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an answer.
A huge struggle.
Let me jump back in. I want to add one more thing to that because Charlie reminded me of something that I think is noteworthy for anybody on this call. We were clients of ELO's before we were partners. And the reason we became partners, the reason we wanted to partner with them is because they did such a great job working with us as a client or in a client relationship. And that made a huge impression on us. So I think that's noteworthy to consider when you're looking at, if you want to get into this space, who to work with.
Agreed.
Very good. Yeah, thank you. Cool. Yeah, and you guys gave great case studies in not only state and local, but federal government, financial services. What other industries do you see the most traction that you're selling ELO into? Do you want to take that, Dave? Or
sure.
Charlie? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing tremendous demand for it right now in a kind of a specific area of retail that we work in, and so as I mentioned before, a lot of our clients use our software for operational technology needs. Well, one of the biggest areas that comes to bear is in automotive industries and automotive sales. And I mean, if you think about the last time you bought a car, you probably signed your name 100 times and you went through a ream of paper before you're able to drive your car off the lot. And so record keeping is extraordinarily important, and it actually gets more and more important every day as new regulations come down with the Patriot Act and paperwork reduction and all sorts of things that go into large ticket sales like that. So it's been such a hot demand in that space in particular that we see a lot of requests coming for just managing simple document flows from the sales process through the record keeping through to auditing down the road, and that is a perfect match for what we offer through ELO.
If I could, Dave, let me add this, Charlie. Let me add the point that the ELO platform, whether it's ELOprofessional or ELO Enterprise, is eminently scalable. As an example of that, I'll give you two different customers beyond the one that we talked about in New York and the financials. We have one small customer who put in a very small implementation there. They are a regional installer of whole home generators. They have thousands of customers in the field. They have field technicians who go in and out. They need to keep records and management of all the different customers that they have, all the different maintenance requirements that they have, the service. And similar to automotive, they have all these records to manage, right? They're a very small company, and this was a very affordable package for them to start the digital transition of their office. On the other hand, we're working with a company who is a global food supplement manufacturer who have major headquarters in the U.S., but they're in half a dozen or more countries around Europe and in other places around the world. And they needed an enterprise class system to be able to do things like manage all of their outgoing invoices to all their customers and their hundreds of thousands of documents that get sent on a monthly basis all around the world that need to get managed and processed and put in a place where they can not only work with finding those things, but also with local compliance laws around all of the financials. So just to give you an idea how scalable this is, we find that it's actually very suitable for almost any vertical that you want to look at.
Great, awesome. Well, we have a lot of great questions here, but we're running out of time. I have a few more things I'd like to talk about, but I'll make sure. First, thank you very much, Sylvia, for just for being our underwriter and for inviting both Dave and Charlie to share these customer stories. I hope the audience found that valuable. So they'll make sure to answer these questions for you in a separate email, and we'll make sure to get those to them right away. I also wanted to share a couple more things about AIM and what we have to offer. First, you might not be aware that we have very specific training for our solution providers and for our channel members. And that is our sales enablement training course that is customized for you. Our own Atlas Shecklin has created the Selling Content Services class. So if you are interested in learning, this is mainly for business leaders and sales reps. If you're interested, you can definitely touch base with Atla. His email address is on the bottom of this slide. And also he shared some papers in the resources list for you as well. So check that out. A lot of our biggest area of growth for training is our Certified Information Professional, which we've been doing for quite a few years, but just about 7 months ago started a online and in-person training on it. So check out our Certified Information Professional, our CIP, at aim.org/training. And there's some other training classes there too that you can see. Now, we are super excited. In just a few months, in April, we're going to be in San Antonio for our annual conference. I wanted to bring this up mainly because you get a huge savings of $300 if you register by tomorrow. If you're not familiar with our conference, it's very educational, brings together about 600 plus registrants. We have a lot of great keynote speakers, educational sessions. You have an opportunity to network with our attendees at our receptions and parties. So just go to aimconference.com and you can check out more details. Plus, most importantly, ELO is a sponsor, and your own Sylvia right here is going to be there to give you, you can get her autograph. So don't miss out. We'd love to have you there. So as we near the end of this webinar, anytime, don't forget to download the resources. The list to the right, you'll see there. Also, when the webinar is over, that survey will open on your desktop. Please fill it out. We love your feedback, and we love to hear what other topics we can cover. And thank you again for our underwriter, ELO Digital Office USA. Without support from our solution providers, we wouldn't be able to bring you free educational programs like this webinar. As we bring this webinar to a close, I'd love to just leave you with our speakers' closing thoughts or takeaways from today's discussion. First, I'll turn it over to Sylvia Horvath with ELO Digital Office. Sylvia?
Amy, I would like to extend my thanks to you, for sure, to Dave and Charlie, and to everyone who attended today's webinar. As I said earlier, I welcome any questions you may have on ELO, on digital office transitions, or how to become an ELO partner, and how our solutions can help you to grow your business in 2018 and beyond. So thank you very much for attending. Have a great day, and or even evening, depending on where you are around the world, and see you in San Antonio. Dave?
Great, thanks, Sylvie. My takeaway would be just look at, I hope I painted a good picture for you today of how anybody can benefit from getting into this space, and how a non-traditional asset management firm can find a firm footing in this industry with a partner like ELO. They make it very, very simple to do business with. They've got a product and a service that's in high demand, and there's countless different ways that you can help your clients out or help your own internal operations out with a solution like ELO. Charlie.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Sylvia and Amy, for giving us a chance to come on today. ELO is a compelling product platform, and it resonates not only with our customers but with our prospects. And one of the main reasons it resonates, and I saw somebody asked a question about what differentiates itself. From our perspective, ELO's orientation came from the legacy of an organizing principle around paper. In today's world, digital office, people are trying to go digital, and what we find is because it comes from that orientation, the 10th generation, which is available today of the software, just has that on steroids, and it is intuitive to people who do that kind of work. So that's why it resonates, maybe more so than some other products on the marketplace. Couple that with the fact that ELO itself, and especially the U.S. organization, has just been a great help in getting Ovitas here in the U.S., we're in the Boston area, up to speed, not only with our own implementation, but with our customers and prospects, working with them. And they continue to support our efforts in a very strong manner, which we're very happy about. And Amy, let me turn it back over to you.
Sure. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sylvia, Dave, and Charlie. And thank you, everyone, for listening and taking these 46 minutes to be with us. I hope you found it beneficial. For AIM, this is Amy Mahalski. See you next time.